Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry about being late today, trying to stick to our new schedule, but we'd like to welcome you to the Let's Talk show on the Authority Video Podcast, Authority Videocast YouTube channel. Sorry that. Welcome to, you know what? I already screwed it up. Welcome to the Manville Entertainment Premises, the podcasting wing. Welcome to Let's Talk, a show here on the Authority Videocast YouTube channel. Oh, one day I'll be able to get through it. I promise. Alrighty, so today we're here as promised. I'm going to be remembering Colt Brennan because Colt Brennan, for those who aren't in the know, he has just recently passed away tragically at the age of 37. But more importantly, I think when I planned on talking about Colt Brennan, I was going to go into the circumstances revolving around his death. But the more and more I think about it, I don't want to think about that. And I don't really have any want or need to discuss that. I mentioned in the Brett Favre video, if you go back, the Brett Favre videos received a little bit of hate. I think it's a little too real for people to understand that one of their sports heroes is a pile of dirt. But as of right now, that's what Brett Favre is looking like. But I mentioned a little bit in that video the circumstances about Colt Brennan's death and basically just that traumatic brain injuries are something that I don't think are talked about enough and how they can impact people's lives, even though seemingly, when an accident occurs and, oh, well, that accident's over with and all that. But the traumatic brain injury can certainly lead people down, dark and twisted paths. And I feel like that's potentially Colt Brennan was just a victim of a traumatic brain injury when it's all said and done. So going back, if you guys want to go back and look at Colt Brennan you have to go to 2007. That was his senior year, right? Well, in 2007, if you go back and look at college football as a whole, it's one of my favorite college football seasons ever. It's one of, I'm sure, a lot of people's favorite college football seasons ever. From a local standpoint, Ohio State made the national championship that year, but obviously they lost to a 2-loss LSU. And really, once you think about the fact that a 2-loss LSU won the national title that year, maybe you start to remember things like Kansas was set to play for a national championship the last week of the regular season. Kansas, the worst team in college football. At one point, USF was ranked, I believe, number 2 in the nation. You had Louisville, Rutgers, all these new teams that were legitimately competing for like a national championship. That was when Rutgers had Ray Rice. We won't get into it. But if you look back at 2007, that's Colt Brennan's senior year. That's the year that Hawaii football finished, along with Kansas, as the only one-loss teams in the final AP Top 25. And what's interesting is that Hawaii actually started the year ranked number 23 in the nation. Along the way, Hawaii beat WAC opponent, WAC foe, number 17th ranked Boise State. They finally got over that hurdle. And they also beat Pac-12 opponent Washington on their way to a 12-0 regular season record. Had Hawaii won the Sugar Bowl, they would have been the only team in the nation to finish undefeated because Kansas won the Orange Bowl, but they lost the game before in a top 3 showdown with Missouri. You had number 2 Kansas playing number 3 Missouri in the last regular season game. It was incredible. To go back and look at those circumstances, you had Denario Alexander on Missouri. You had the name of the Kansas quarterback, it's slipping me, but he's a legend. No disrespect. I can't believe I let his name slip like this. But yeah, despite all this success, Hawaii needed everything and then some they could get from Colt Brennan, because in 10 regular season games against FBS opponents, Hawaii's defense actually gave up 27.4 points a game. So the defense left a lot to be desired. And so Colt Brennan, he put Hawaii on his back. He threw for over 4,300 yards with a 70.4% completion percentage and 38 touchdowns, a 159.8 rating. And that's incredible. And obviously, we all know Hawaii didn't end up finishing the season undefeated. They finished the season 12-1 because they got their butts handed to them in the Sugar Bowl by the In the final AP poll for 2007, Georgia finished number 2. So the number 2 team in the nation, in their own backyard, it was the Sugar Bowl. They beat up on Hawaii, who flew across the country. And honestly, Hawaii was probably feeling a bit disrespected. I mean, yeah, Ohio State and LSU were great teams, but LSU had 2 losses. Hawaii was undefeated. You talk about the disrespect. I mean, that's why the playoff is just so crucial. And I'm still one of those people that says UCF totally got screwed a couple years ago when they, in my opinion, they deserved a spot. Despite these heights for Hawaii football, what if I told you Brennan was a legend before that season ever even began? Here's why. How's about a 186 quarterback rating? A 186 quarterback rating. That at the time was an FBS record. Now, 12 quarterbacks have since gone on to pass that mark, but 2 of those guys are very little known MAC quarterbacks. And yeah, a lot of the other guys are well-known players, but it just goes to show how much the game has changed. In 2006, when Colt Brennan was doing what he was doing, it was truly remarkable. It had never been done before. 186 QB rating, FBS record. Added 4.3 yards per carry for 366 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns that season in 2006. And we're talking about the most complete quarterback ever to that point, ever to see the grace the college game. In 2006, a 186 quarterback rating, and you can throw in almost 400 rushing yards and 5 TDs on the ground. Holy crap. That season, Colt Brennan went 406 for 559 passing, good for 72.6 completion percentage, 5,549 yards, 58 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. He averaged an interception a game. So he would throw 1 interception a game, exactly 1, but he also got you for over 5,500 yards and 58 passing touchdowns. And when you add in his 5 on the ground, that's good for 63 touchdowns that year. And the thing that really jumps out about his junior season is the fact that 9.9, he had a 9.9 yards per attempt. That's disgusting. He was attempting a first down pass every time he stepped back in the pocket. For reference, Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco has a career 6.4 average yards per attempt. Now in the NFL, it's different, but he played college football at Delaware, so I can't use those stats either. So for his NFL career, he's averaging 6.4 yards per attempt as a Super Bowl winning quarterback. In Colt Brennan's junior season, he was averaging 9.9 yards per attempt at Hawaii. That season, Hawaii was 11-3. They reached number 24 in the polls and created one of the most fun teams ever for that following year's NCAA football. So I guess it would have been NCAA football 2007. Kind of a weird year for NCAA football because that was the year that that was the first year of the Xbox 360, the PS3. So the game was getting made the game was like crazy on the Xbox 360. I remember having it on the PS2 and it was pretty fun, but it wasn't NCAA football 2006 or 05 or 04. But yeah, that team, regardless, if you had NCAA football 2007, and it actually went so far as they still had some guys in 2008 and wait, no, it couldn't have been. He would have been in NCAA football 2008 because it would have been for that season. So yeah, actually take it all back. This team would have then gone into NCAA football. Regardless of the year, I know that the 06, 07 range, that was pretty sure even possibly 08 might have been, because I had 08 with Jared Zabransky on the cover from Boise State. That was the first game I ever got for the Xbox 360, and I think Colt Brennan was actually in that game. So yeah, it would have been. That's why my memories are so fond of 08. Maybe not the most notable year for other people, but now that I'm thinking about it, that would have been the year that Colt Brennan was just dynamo, because it would have been for the 2007 season, NCAA football 2008, and it was based off his monstrous 2006. So Oh, there we go. Finally got it figured out. There was an ESPN article that was saying something about NCAA football 2007, and I think they're just misremembering because they would have had to have been. And the NCAA football 2007 would have been based off '05 stats, which were okay. Like he was pretty good as a sophomore. He actually transferred from a community college, I believe. But yeah, I'm thinking '08 is the game where you get like just like ridiculous Colt Brennan and Devone Bess. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on too. Like, yeah, Joe Burrow went on to crush Colt Brennan's records from that '06 season. And not, no disrespect to Detroit, not to take anything away from Joe Burrow, but he also had two top flight future Pro Bowl wide receivers. Now, Chase hasn't, obviously, he just got drafted. But are you kidding me? One of the Jefferson had like Randy Moss type numbers this year for for the Vikings. Like he was literally on his Randy Moss tip. So, as much credit as I wanted to give Joe Burrow, like I feel like Colt Brennan was doing a lot more with a lot less. Like he had one of his 1,000-yard receivers that year I've literally never heard of. Devone Bess ended up making the NFL, but I think really actually Devone Bess got screwed because I think Devone Bess suffered from mental health issues before the media and all that was willing to like properly handle those sort of things. So when Devone Bess had troubles with the Browns and he was like posting Instagram posts where he's like smoking weed and all that, I just think that was like a cry for help. Like he was having mental health issues at the time, and fans, media, like everyone, no one was prepared to be dealing with that stuff. I remember when Larry Sanders stepped away from the NBA, he was having mental health, and people were like, "Are you like what's wrong with you?" But I don't know. That's a totally different story. But I think for Devone Bess, I do think he was suffering from some mental health, and it really goes to show how far we've come as a society. Really, that I feel like if something like that were to happen today, it would be recognized as a cry for help instead of everyone getting on around the horn saying, "Oh, Devone Bess, he's an idiot, cut him," and all that stuff. So I was going to refer you guys to two articles. I would still go read about maybe the circumstances around Colt Brennan's death, and ESPN laid it out pretty well. ESPN's article about his death is good, but then ESPN had another article about how he put Hawaii on the map, and like I just figured out here live on stream, I'm pretty sure the guy they interviewed had misremembered the year. Which obviously, as you saw, can be confusing. We get all that, but yeah, you're writing for ESPN.com. You probably want to make sure that you're not screwing something up like that. But thank you so much, you guys, for joining me today. I have created a Facebook page and working the kinks out for it. So make sure, if you haven't already, go to Facebook at Authority Videocast. Give it a like. We'll be doing polls on there. I don't know. Maybe Facebook deleted polls, but my whole idea for that was to create polls for you guys and all that. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll use the Facebook as a way to expand this show for sure. And I guess my other thing is, now that hopefully I'm going to be building the audience for this, getting more involved in social media, it would definitely help if I could hammer down that intro. What do you guys think? I really, really, really struggle. Like I am on the verge of just writing that whole thing down. I want a good way to like segue the show from its awkward beginnings into where I'm sort of feeling good. Because if you guys haven't noticed, like the intros are just so weird. It's so weird to just come on here and then just talk. Like it's really hard. So you kind of have to get into the flow of things, which I do feel I'm pretty dang good at. But woo. Hey, we get off to some rough starts here on this channel. I'm not gonna lie. So I apologize wholeheartedly for that. And I was about to say there's nothing I can do, but be better, write it down, like whatever I have to do. So yeah, actually, you guys, I kind of put on a performance. I was sort of, I wasn't embellishing anything. I was reading right from the story, but I was being very animated and joking, like sort of being jokey. And so I feel like I don't know what was wrong with the Brett Favre video, but I did spend some time talking about Colt Brennan in that video. So if you want more Colt Brennan content, please see the Brett Favre video and maybe enjoy a laugh at Brett Favre. I think that story is just being completely swept under the rug, and there's no reason for it to be, because it's ridiculous and it needs to be heard. But I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that, and we'll catch you on the next one.